All right, today we're going to dive into a really powerful manufacturing philosophy called total productive maintenance, or TPM. And you're about to see this is about so much more than just fixing machines when they break. It's actually a total cultural shift that completely changes how everyone works.
So, to really get why TPM is such a game changer, you've got to understand the problem it's built to solve. And oh man, it's a classic one: the constant tug of war on the factory floor. Does that sound familiar? I bet it does. It's the endless blame game, right? Production points the finger at maintenance for every breakdown, and maintenance points right back at production, saying they're misusing the equipment. It's this vicious cycle of frustration where nothing actually gets solved. And look, this isn't just some simple communication problem. It runs way deeper. It's a systemic issue. You've got each department stuck in its own little world, its own silo, totally focused on its own tasks. And that leads to this constant battle that just hurts the entire operation.
Now, check this out, because this shows you the real-world cost of this feud. This data is from an actual industrial case study, and you can see that downtime, that's the time when machines are just sitting there doing nothing, is completely unpredictable. I mean, it's bouncing from 4% one month to a staggering 16% another. That is a massive, massive hit to productivity, and you guessed it, the bottom line. So how in the world do you break this cycle? Well, that is where total productive maintenance comes into the picture. It offers a totally different way of thinking about the problem.
The key word here, you got to remember, is total. TPM says that keeping the equipment up and running isn't just the maintenance team's job. No, it's everyone's job. From the operators on the floor all the way up to the managers in the office, everyone has a part to play. And this is the real game changer. It's a huge philosophical shift. Instead of waiting around for a machine to break down and then scrambling to fix it, which is 100% reactive, TPM is all about preventing that breakdown from ever happening in the first place. It is a proactive, preventative culture. This brings us right to the heart of TPM, a core idea called autonomous maintenance. And the concept? Well, it's simple, but it is radical. You empower the very people who use the machines every single day to also take care of them. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. Look, in a traditional factory, the operator's job is just to run the machine, period. When it breaks, they call maintenance. But with the TPM approach, operators are trained in cleaning, lubricating, inspecting, even performing minor repairs on their own equipment. They become the first line of defense.
Okay, so right about now, you might be thinking, hang on, that just sounds like more work for the operators. And you know what? That's a totally fair question. It gets right to the heart of why this change can be so challenging, but also so incredibly rewarding. See, the benefits are shared. For the operators, it's not just more work, it's empowerment. They get new skills, they understand their equipment on a much deeper level, and they feel a real sense of ownership, which naturally boosts job satisfaction. And for the company, the payoff is huge. We're talking fewer unexpected breakdowns, higher overall efficiency, and of course, lower maintenance costs. This is such a great visual of that empowerment in action. When you give them the right training, operators can use simple tools like the 5 whys, where you just keep asking why to get past the surface level symptoms, to really dig into the root causes of problems. They're not just reporting issues anymore, they are actively solving them. Now, a cultural shift this big doesn't just happen on its own. It can't just be a grassroots movement that bubbles up from the floor. For TPM to really, truly succeed, it has to be driven from the very top. This quote from our research source really says it all. TPM is a top-down initiative, plain and simple. And without genuine, sustained commitment from senior leaders, the whole strategy is pretty much doomed before it even gets started. And let's be crystal clear about where that responsibility lies. You can't just hand this off to some coordinator or a TPM manager. One person interviewed put it perfectly. The person who has to make it happen is the plant manager, the #1 person in charge. They are the ultimate owner of the program's success or its failure. So here's the bottom line. You can have all the charts, all the tools, all the fancy pillars you want, but they are absolutely useless if the leadership team isn't driving that fundamental change in the culture. It is the one non-negotiable ingredient for success. Okay, so what happens when you get it right? When that culture finally shifts, operators feel empowered and leadership is all in. What's the ultimate payoff? How about this for a payoff? Get this. One manager involved in a TPM implementation reported a jaw-dropping return on investment. For every single dollar they invested in training, tools, and time, they got $12 back. 12! That's not just an improvement, that is a complete transformation of the bottom line. And the benefits go way beyond just the financials. Successful TPM programs lead to huge, measurable jumps in productivity and massive cost reductions. But just as importantly, they create a healthier, more collaborative place to work, with higher employee morale and engagement all around. That factory floor feud, it's finally over.
And that really brings us to our final thought. Yeah, TPM is a manufacturing strategy, but its core principle is universal. It leaves us with a pretty provocative question to think about. What would happen in any field, any workplace, if everyone took true, genuine ownership of the tools they use every single day?